Hey there, welcome back to the vlog. Today I'm going to be answering a few questions I've had about aspect ratios in film. These days everybody's familiar with the 16:9 aspect ratio for TV or film. That is the width across here compared to the depth of the picture here. This is 16:9 ratio. 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels if you're talking in HD, or more than that if you're talking in Ultra HD. There's various different types there. If you go to the cinema though, it's more like this. This is 235:1. As you can see, it makes quite a bit of difference to the way that the whole thing feels. The top and bottom here are cropped off, but you've got something wider, and that kind of makes more sense because your eyes are that way across. So shooting vertical video like this, which is what a lot of people who don't really know much about film tend to do with their cell phones, and it's even some people who do know about film sometimes do with their cell phones, is a bit strange to look at because your eyes aren't round that way, really. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a camera and a couple of friends and go over somewhere which has got a nice cinematic feel, which is that park over the road from my place that you're probably becoming all too familiar with if you watch these a lot. And I'm going to shoot a dramatic scene and come back and show it to you in a couple of different aspect ratios, and you can see for yourself what the emotive difference is between these different ways of looking at it and different ways of framing something. The other thing I'm going to be doing is having a look at how different aspect ratios get uploaded to YouTube, and what happens to them when you do that, and something you can do to kind of cheat it a little bit and make it look really good on YouTube, and in fact use different aspect ratios and some of the stuff that YouTube does to make your videos look a little bit cleaner. Now I'm keeping this really simple. I'm going to be shooting on the A7S here, and I'm just going to go and grab my 50mm lens because it's the one that's going to give me a nice flat, well graded image at the other end.
Ryan Little.
So what we're going to do first here is just set up the camera somewhere looking up over that way so it doesn't look like there are houses up behind the place, particularly where we've got axles flat directly and shot up over here, so we'll move down a wee bit further. Axel's an actor of some disreputable actor.
Of nature.
So I grab them wherever I can, just for doing little shots like this as well. Okay, it was about that time that the wind picked up a bit, so the microphone on the RX100 became pretty much useless and wasn't picking up anything other than lots of blowy noise. So I thought I'd just cut in here and explain what it is I'm doing. Now I got the guys just to run a bit of a dramatic scene for me, just two people walking towards each other on a field, and I set it to a few different aspect ratios so that you could see for yourselves just what it feels like with the different type of framing each time. So here we go. Now, if you're making a film that's got a lot of close-ups and a lot of people having conversations, and you're relatively tight on the characters all the time, then 16:9 is fine. It's why it's used a lot in TV and things like that, because you're never doing big, huge landscape shots for a large portion of the time. In fact, a lot of TV, you're never seeing a wide shot at all. So that sort of suits that 16:9 thing. It's a perfectly good framing. But if you've got something with a lot of wides and you've got big landscapes and things like that, that's where the 235:1 comes in. You just don't have the distraction of all of that stuff up above and down below that isn't really part of your story. Here's showing the same thing in 235:1. Now, if you're having even bigger landscapes, and you're making a film, say, about large battle scenes, and you're looking right across a mountain range and that sort of thing, and cowboys riding across the plains with herds of cattle, all this sort of thing, then maybe a 3:1 ratio is more the thing that you're after. Have a look at this. So as you can see from those three examples, what you're really playing with is what the user is focusing on, what it is that they can see, and what you want to really draw their attention to. It might not always be suitable to have that 3:1 ratio, for example, if there is something happening above their heads, even if that's just showing a cityscape or some buildings or more clouds or something, or that you want to generate a feeling of more space. By using that 3:1 ratio, coming a little bit closer and being able to see just those characters and the path they're following, you're creating a much more intimate piece of footage. You're sort of excluding and removing all those other things that are part of the environment that can be distracting. The next thing is to have a look and see how this relates to what you're doing with your YouTube videos. Now, of course, the default ratio for anything going onto YouTube is 16:9, and if you upload anything that's not 16:9, it gets letterboxed or pillarboxed into a 16:9 frame. Here's a couple of examples. So I can load up our sample footage here. So this particular piece of footage you can see here on YouTube, I did upload that as a 235:1 ratio piece of footage. I set the project dimensions in Final Cut to be 235:1, so there is no letterboxing in the video that I'm publishing. YouTube have put that into that 235:1 framing for me and letterboxed it. Likewise, if I do this with my cell phone, which is not something I really want to do with my cell phone ever if I can possibly avoid it, then you can see that it takes this vertical footage and it pillar boxes it. That's the black strips on either side here. It pillar boxes it and shows it to you once again in the 16:9 frame. Now that's basically so YouTube have their life made a lot easier. They've got one size to deal with, and with the amount of stuff that they've got coming through, I can fully understand why they do that. Now some people could look at that and say, well, you've got all that wasted space above and below the footage here, but I'm kind of looking at that in a slightly different way, because if you have a look down here on this bottom strip at the bottom here of the footage, that there's used by YouTube also for some overlays and things. For example, you've got your subscription thing down here. Up the top here, not so much that, there's just there and it is. So what I want you to have a think about is, if you're using this 235:1 footage here, now I've got the signature strip down the bottom here, and it's outside of my footage. So if I upload 235:1 images to YouTube, then I've got this whole strip along the bottom here to play with. If I upload a 16:9 with 235:1 footage in it, then I can use the bottom strip like this, and I can also use the top strip like this. Just somewhere else for me to put things that I want to bring to your attention, whether it's captions or something up there, an ad or a sponsor or something. I can do all of these sorts of things, but they're not in here in my video, and that's something that could be quite useful to keep an eye on. I'm actually really considering using that 235:1, just largely so that I've got that utility strip down the bottom. I can put my reminders, my notes, I can put a URL up the top if I want to get you to subscribe to a charity or something like that. I'm really considering using 235:1 as a standard for my YouTube videos. I might start doing that. Anyway, I'll leave you with those thoughts. I hope this has been useful. If it has, please hit the subscribe button below. Don't forget to like and click the notify bell and turn on that notify all the time thing so you never miss out on one of my really exciting, important videos that you just can't live without. And also pop along, and if you play Minecraft, pop along and see the Minecraft channel. It's got Minecraft in it. And anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great evening, and I'm going to go now and cook some dinner and play some Minecraft.